In the heart of the woods, Gaik, where silence feels heavier than sound, there stands a door. A door with no walls, no frame, and no purpose. They say it only opens when you're completely alone, but behind it waits something that no human should ever see. Tonight, we tell the story of the door in the forest. Chapter 1. The door appears. The night was colder than usual and the trees whispered as if sharing secrets. Alex had wandered deeper into the forest than he ever had before. The full moon cast long silver beams through the branches, lighting his path. Every crunch of leaves beneath his boots echoed unnaturally loud. He told himself he was only exploring, but a strange pull guided him forward. His flashlight flickered even though he had just put in new batteries. That was when he saw it. A door. Just a door, standing upright in the middle of the forest. No walls, no frame, just a tall wooden door where no structure should exist. Its wood was dark, almost black, as though it had been burned. A brass handle gleamed faintly in the moonlight. Alex stopped breathing for a moment, staring in disbelief. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, but the door remained. The forest around him grew unnaturally silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. He stepped closer, drawn by an invisible force. The air grew colder with each step. His flashlight dimmed further, struggling against the darkness. A faint whisper brushed past his ear. He spun around, but no one was there. The whisper came again, this time clearer. Alone, it breathed. His skin crawled as goosebumps rose along his arms. He turned back to the door. It looked older now, its edges rotting, as though it had stood for centuries. The handle seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Alex swallowed hard and reached out. His fingers hovered an inch away from the cold brass. The whisper grew louder. Alone, it repeated. He looked over his shoulder again, scanning the forest. Nothing moved. The silence pressed against his ears. He realized his own breathing was the only sound. His hand shook as he touched the handle. It was icy cold, like metal pulled from deep snow. He twisted it slightly, but the door didn't budge. He pressed harder. Still, it refused to move. The whisper came once more. Only when alone. He stumbled backward, heart racing. Did that mean the door wouldn't open until he was completely alone? He looked at the forest again, half expecting someone to step out of the shadows. The trees loomed like watchers, tall and patient. Alex shook his head, trying to laugh at his own fear. "It's just a door," he muttered. His voice cracked in the silence. He stepped closer again, trying to push the door with both hands. It didn't move. Anger mixed with fear inside him. He banged on the wood and the sound echoed like thunder. Something answered from the other side. A slow, deliberate knock. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Alex froze in place, every muscle locking. His mouth went dry. He whispered, "Who's there?" Silence followed. Then came the whisper again, but deeper, rougher. "Alone." Alex staggered back, his flashlight finally going out. The moon was his only light now. The door loomed taller, darker, more alive. He could almost hear breathing behind it. He told himself to leave, to run, but his legs refused to move. The brass handle twitched on its own. Slowly, it began to turn. Alex gasped and stumbled back further. The door creaked, opening just an inch. Darkness spilled out like smoke. A smell of decay followed, thick and suffocating. Something inside the crack shifted, scraping against wood. A pale hand pressed against the edge of the door. Its fingers were long, too long, each tipped with a cracked black nail. Alex's heart thundered in his chest. The hand slowly retreated. The door slammed shut on its own. The sound shook the trees around him. Alex stood frozen, unable to comprehend what he had seen. He wanted to run, but his feet felt nailed to the ground. Then the whisper returned, closer than ever. Come back, when you are truly alone. His breath quickened and finally his legs obeyed. He bolted through the trees, branches tearing at his clothes. The forest seemed endless, twisting around him. No matter how far he ran, he felt the whisper in his ear. Alone. When he finally burst from the tree line, the door was gone. But he knew it was waiting for him. Chapter 2. The Whispers Follow. Alex couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the pale hand pressing against the door. The whisper clung to his ears like a parasite. Alone. It murmured again and again. He buried his head under his pillow, but it didn't help. The sound was inside his skull now. At 3 a.m., he gave up on sleep. His reflection in the mirror looked hollow, eyes wide with exhaustion. He splashed water on his face, but the whisper echoed in the ripples. Come back, it breathed. He backed away from the sink, shaking his head. He swore he would never return to that forest, but the whisper laughed softly as if it had heard his thought. The next morning, he skipped breakfast and left the house. Work felt impossible. The office chatter blurred into meaningless noise. His co-workers noticed his pale face and jittery movements. Rough night? One of them asked. Alex forced a smile, but the whisper answered instead. Alone. It hissed in his ear. He flinched so violently that his co-worker frowned. You okay, man? Alex mumbled something about lack of sleep. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was being followed. The whisper wasn't tied to the forest anymore, it was tied to him. By noon, he couldn't take it anymore. He left work early and drove aimlessly. His hands gripped the steering wheel tight enough to hurt. The voice grew louder in the enclosed car. Alone, alone, alone. He slammed the brakes and shouted, "Shut up!" The silence afterward was worse than the whisper. His own heartbeat thudded like a drum in his ears. He realized he had stopped on a road that led toward the forest. His stomach turned to ice. No, he muttered, shifting the car into reverse. But the steering wheel jerked on its own. The car turned forward again. His headlights flickered even though it was broad daylight. The whisper grew pleased, stretching into words. Closer. Come closer. His foot pressed on the gas without his consent. The car rolled forward, the forest growing nearer. He fought the wheel, sweat dripping down his face. Finally, with a desperate scream, he pulled the keys out of the ignition. The car died with a cough. The whisper turned angry. Alone! It roared, rattling inside his skull. He stumbled out of the car, gasping for breath. The world tilted around him. The trees in the distance seemed to bend, leaning toward him. He ran away from the road, clutching his head. Every shadow seemed to stretch long fingers toward him. His phone buzzed suddenly, startling him. A text message glowed on the screen. It was from an unknown number. The message read, "You cannot resist the door." His hands trembled as he dropped the phone. The device vibrated again, another message arriving. "You must be alone." He looked around frantically. Cars passed in the distance, but none slowed. He was surrounded by strangers, yet he felt utterly alone. The phone buzzed again. This time the screen showed only one word. Tonight. Alex's stomach sank. The forest had chosen him. He forced himself to return home, locking every door and window. He sat in the corner of his room, rocking back and forth. The whisper was quieter now, as if waiting. That made it worse. Night fell. The moon rose pale and watchful. His clock ticked toward midnight, each second stabbing his nerves. He heard scratching at the front door. Slow, deliberate scratches. His heart nearly stopped. He tiptoed to the peephole. Nothing was there. But when he turned, the scratching began at the back door. Then the windows. Then the walls. It was as if the entire house was being clawed from the outside. The whisper returned, soft but commanding. Alone. The door waits. He clutched his ears, screaming. But when he opened his eyes, his living room was gone. He stood in the middle of the forest again. The door loomed before him, taller and darker than ever. Its brass handle gleamed like a predator's eye. His body moved forward without his control. The whisper filled him, drowning every other thought. Now you are ready. Chapter 3. What waits beyond. Alex's hand rose against his will. His fingers brushed the brass handle. The metal pulsed like a living heart. The whisper purred inside his head. Open. His body trembled, but his hand turned the handle anyway. The door creaked open, spilling out a wave of freezing air. Darkness oozed into the forest like smoke. The trees bent away from it, shuddering. Alex's breath formed icy clouds. A smell of rot and damp earth filled his lungs. He wanted to run, but his legs stepped forward. The crack widened. A void yawned behind it, deeper than night itself. He squinted, trying to see what lay beyond. Faint lights flickered in the distance like dying stars. Whispers layered over whispers, hundreds of voices chanting. They all spoke the same word. Alone. His ears rang, blood dripping from his nose. The ground shifted beneath him. It felt like standing on skin, not soil. He gagged, trying to pull away. But the door sucked him in like gravity. He stumbled through the threshold. The world behind the door swallowed him whole. He hit the ground hard, coughing in the dust. The door slammed shut behind him with a final boom. Panic surged. There was no way back. The place was not forest, not earth. The ground stretched in endless waves of flesh-colored terrain. Pulses ran through it like veins. Above him, the sky was a churning mass of shadows. Shapes crawled within it, writhing like worms. He clamped a hand over his mouth, fighting the urge to scream. The air was heavy, thick, alive. Something moved in the distance. Tall, crooked figures rose from the ground. They had no faces, only long arms ending in clawed hands. Their heads tilted toward him, sensing his presence. He backed away slowly. One of the creatures bent down, pressing its clawed hand to the ground. The entire land trembled, sending vibrations toward him. The whispers rose to a fever pitch. You are alone. You are ours. Alex screamed, clutching his ears. The creatures moved closer. They didn't walk. They slid, as if the ground carried them. Their limbs stretched unnaturally with each step. The closest one reached for him. Its hand brushed his shoulder. Ice shot through his veins, and his body convulsed. He collapsed to his knees. The whispers filled his skull until it felt like it would split. Stay, they commanded. He forced himself to crawl backward. His hands scraped across the fleshy ground. It pulsed beneath him like a heartbeat. Suddenly, another door appeared in the distance, smaller, weaker, but still glowing faintly. Hope surged in his chest. He staggered to his feet and ran. The creature shrieked, a sound like rusted metal tearing. The ground buckled beneath him as if trying to swallow his legs. He tripped, skin scraping against the pulsing surface. He pushed himself up, gasping. The whispers turned furious. You belong here. He ignored them, sprinting with every ounce of strength. The door grew closer. Its frame glowed white, fragile but real. He reached out, stretching his fingers. A claw slashed across his back, burning like fire. He screamed but didn't stop. His palm slammed against the handle. The door burst open with a blinding light. He dove through, collapsing on cold, solid earth. The forest air hit his lungs, sharp and real. The door slammed shut behind him. Silence fell. He lay on the ground, trembling, unable to move. Hours seemed to pass before he managed to sit up. The forest looked normal again. Birds chirped, and the moon shone gently. For a moment he thought it had been a nightmare. But when he touched his back, his fingers came away wet with blood. His shirt was torn where the claw had struck. The wound pulsed, burning with something unnatural. He staggered to his feet, dizzy and weak. The forest seemed to lean closer now, as though watching him. He turned back. The door was still there, but it looked different. Smaller, less threatening, as if mocking him. He knew it wasn't gone. It was waiting. The whisper returned, soft and patient. Soon, you will open it again. Chapter 4. The Price of Being Alone. Alex stumbled through the forest, clutching his bleeding back. His vision blurred, every step heavier than the last. The whisper circled his thoughts like a vulture. You cannot escape us. He pressed his hands over his ears, but it didn't matter anymore. The voice wasn't outside, it was inside. The wound on his back pulsed with every word. He reached the edge of the forest at dawn. The sunlight gave him a brief sense of safety. He collapsed in his driveway, trembling. Neighbors found him and rushed him to the hospital. Doctors stitched the wound, but they frowned at the black veins spreading from it. They had never seen an infection like this. Alex tried to explain what had happened, but the words sounded insane. A door in the forest did this, he whispered. The nurse gave him a pitying look and walked away. Days passed, but the wound never healed. Instead, it grew worse, darker, as if something was crawling beneath his skin. The whisper grew stronger with every hour. At night, the door appeared in his hospital room. No one else could see it, only Alex. It stood at the foot of his bed, waiting. Sometimes the handle turned slowly on its own. Sometimes it knocked 3 times. Always patient, always waiting. He begged the doctors to move him, but the door followed wherever he went. It was bound to him now. One night, he woke to find the door wide open. A pale hand reached out and touched his foot. He screamed, kicking it away. The nurses rushed in but saw nothing. To them, Alex was thrashing at empty air. They restrained him, injected him with sedatives. But even in his drugged haze, he heard the whisper, "You belong to us." Alex realized the door wasn't just waiting, it was consuming him. Every time he slept, he dreamed of the world behind it. The pulsing ground, the faceless creatures, the endless chanting. Each time, the dreams lasted longer. Each time, they felt more real. He woke with bruises that hadn't been there before, cuts across his arms, dirt beneath his nails, as though he had been walking in that place. His body no longer belonged fully to this world. Neither did his mind. On the 7th night, he woke alone in the hospital room. The monitors had gone silent. The nurses had vanished. The world outside his window was empty, streets deserted. His heart froze. He was truly alone. The door opened slowly, its hinges screaming. Darkness poured into the room, swallowing the walls. The pale hand reached out again, this time gripping his wrist. He tried to pull away, but the strength left his body. Another hand grabbed his other arm, then another and another, cold and unyielding. They dragged him toward the black void. He screamed until his throat tore. His fingernails scraped deep gouges into the hospital floor. But the darkness devoured them too. The whispers rose in triumph. "You are one of us now." His body vanished into the door. The door slammed shut with finality. Silence filled the hospital. When morning came, the nurses found his bed empty, His chart, his belongings, even his records, gone. As if Alex had never existed. The doctors were baffled. The police searched, but there was no trace of him. His home was abandoned, his car untouched. The only clue was his phone. On the screen was a final message typed at 3 a.m. It read, "The door is real, don't go alone." But no one believed it. Weeks later, hikers claimed to see a door in the forest. Some said they heard knocking. Others swore they heard a man screaming from behind it. A few claimed to hear a whisper, a single word, alone. Those who lingered too long never came back. The door always chose its victims carefully. It waited patiently, knowing curiosity was stronger than fear. And once you saw it, you could never unsee it. Alex's story was only one of many. The forest still keeps its secret. The door still waits. And if you ever find yourself wandering there at night, pray you are not alone. Some doors are meant to keep danger out, but this one? It was built to let something in. And once you've seen it, once you've heard its whisper, you'll never escape its call. Remember, if you ever wander too deep into the woods, pray you're not alone, because the door might just be waiting for you. This was Nightmare, where the darkness is never far away.